Hi guys, Ramsey here. Welcome back to another video. And today we're going to do a family portrait on the House of Dior. So I'm going to show you guys my Dior collection. Again, for those of you who are newer to my channel, I'm starting out with these family portraits just because I wanted to give you a feel for, what I went for, what my tastes are. And then ultimately, I think once I kind of get my feet wet, I had surgery on my nose a few weeks back. And so every day is a little bit better. Once I get my nose, back to 100%, I think I'm going to start doing individual reviews on some of these. So I just wanted to start with some of these family portraits so you guys, could, take a look. If there's anything that you want me to do individual reviews on, let me know. I got a couple requests for Shalimar and stuff like that, and so I'll try to prioritize those. But just let me know what you guys think, what you want to focus on after these family portraits get done. We're kind of coming down to the end of the big houses. So this is Dior, one of the best designer houses in perfume, you could say. One of the big three with Chanel and Hermes. And so let's get started. So what is becoming customary with my videos is I'm leaving out stuff from the last family portrait. So if you're here just for the Diors, you're going to have to suffer through one Roja. And that is Roja Oud, the original Oud. This is a 5 ml decant that I actually got for free for purchasing a Kilian's fragrance from a friend of mine. He threw this in for free. Look at the color of the juice on this. It is absolutely unbelievably thick and resinous, and you almost have to smear it when you put it on your hand. But again, I said Roja's 50-50. He's hit or miss. This is one I actually really like. It's a rose oud basically, but in Roja fashion. He claims there's real ambergris. There is May rose. There's obviously oud. And he throws in a mix of patchouli, vanilla, rhubarb, lemon verbena at the top. But this is a heavy fragrance. It's strong too, and it really lasts. This 5 ml decant, I've had it for a year and a half, and look how much I've used. Barely any. So it's gonna last me a long time. You don't always need full bottles when you have a big collection, but I forgot to mention this one last time, so there you go. Roja's Oud. Okay, now onto the Dior's. So the first one I want to start with is one I regret buying, actually, because it's not really my style. I wanted something sweet to add to my collection, and this and Tonka Imperial are two that I really struggle with, but this is Feb Delicious. And this is the newer style where the C and the D come together. I don't know if you can see that too well. I'll show you an older style bottle just so you can kind of get a feel for what they used to look like. That's what the cap used to look like, the C and D. They used to be separated. They used to be separated on these Privés as well, this Dior Privé line. So Feb Delicious is basically a Tonka heavy vanilla caramel fragrance. It's exactly what I don't like. I heard that this got discontinued, and like any frag head, I ran and bought it right away. I don't know, maybe I can get, my wife to wear it or something at some point in time, but it's too sweet for me. It's syrupy sweet. Apparently, the older style bottles before it was reformulated in 2018, if you can find the bottles with the C and the D not connected, that's the one that you want to go for. So this might be one that I would be willing to sell at some point in the future, but that's Feb Delicious. Next is one I actually have a decant of, but a nice decant bottle, a 30 ml, and it's Santol Noir. It even looks like a little Dior bottle. The guy I bought this off of has a pretty good setup going. So Santol Noir is Demachy's take on Egoiste. If you know that fragrance from the early 90s, Egoiste is a masculine that came out. And I think this was a Middle Eastern exclusive. by Demachi. And I believe it was, you know, to compete with some of the Middle Eastern exclusives that Chanel was doing. Like, for example, they have their Absolutes d'Orient collection. They have fragrances like Santal Royale. I think this is kind of like a take on Santal Royale. I do like this. It's heavy, it's strong. I mean, you have to, if you like amouage, if you like your fragrances full on and opulent, this is one from the Privé collection to check out. The Privé collection is kind of like Roja to me. Some are big misses and some are hits. I like Santal Royale. If you like that egoist, you know, if you like that DNA of Santal Royale, this is actually the reason I never bought Santal. I don't own Guerlain Santal Royale because I own this, and it's just, you know, obviously it's not a clone. It does its own thing, but you know, they're close enough where I just never pulled the trigger on it. And the price on Santal Royale of Guerlain is starting to go through the roof. So check this one out. This is called Santol Noir by Dior's Privé. Okay, next, the last Privé in my collection, and it's my favorite, excuse me, it's Leather Oud. The famous Leather Oud. And as you can see, these presentations, by the way, you notice, unlike the Roja bottles I showed you that are flash and pizzazz and, you know, fancy caps and diamond-studded, you know, crystals and blah, blah, blah. These are very minimalist. Chanel does the exact same thing. I'll show you my Chanel collection on the next video. But I think the whole idea, the thought process behind this look is that you're paying money for the juice. You're not paying for, you know, a diamond bezeled cap. You're not paying for a lacquered box that opens up and you can display it. You're paying for the juice, literally. It's just a clean label. It's a clean look. You know, it looks boring, but I think subconsciously what they're trying to tell you is, yes, this is our high-end collection, but when you buy a Privé, when you buy a Chanel, you know, the money that you're spending is going towards the juice, not the presentation. I think that's what they're subconsciously trying to tell you. Again, I have a newer formulation, with the CD connected, where Demachi, you know, reformulated these. This originally came out in 2010. If Demachi did this, I want to say this is his best work. I know that's you know, maybe that's a little bit blasphemous to some, but if Demachi actually made this in 2010, I think this is his best work. Now, I do have well, here, let me tell you a little bit about this scent first. Obviously, it's called Leather Oud. It is Leather Oud. It's smoky. Apparently, this new version has a sand note added to it. In the previous version, where the C and D did not connect, don't have that sand accord. But this is bergamot in the top, cardamom cloves in the mid. There's some, you know, a little bit of flowers, but I don't get jasmine or geranium out of this. This is pure leather oud smoke. There is an amber wood note, which is a synthetic molecule, basically created to, you know, replicate a wood accord, and it's you know, it is synthetic, but this is a great fragrance. I love this fragrance. It is tenacious, so maybe the older bottle smelled a little bit better. Maybe it was a little bit more civet. This doesn't have a civet note listed, but it does have smoke, birch, patchouli, sandalwood in the base. That sand note is kind of weird, but I do still like this fragrance. But I have a suggestion to you. I'll do a Jacques Bogart house comparison as well. But if you're on a budget and you like Leather Oud and can't afford it, go for this. This is Jacques Bogart One-Man Show Oud Edition. This is $10 or $15 or whatever it is for, I think this is 100 ml. Yeah, it's 100 ml. And Jacques Bogart is known for their tenacious fragrances, to say the least. Thomas from Early Greek described this the absolute best way you could describe it. He said, Jacques Bogart doesn't play around. They said, "Oh, you want an oud accord? Here you go." They just give it to you straight up in the beginning. This synthetic oud everyone's using, they just go boom here. And it is a little bit harsher than leather oud. It's a little bit rougher around the edges. But to be honest, whether I wear One Man Show Oud Edition or whether I wear leather oud, they kind of scratch the same itch for me. Leather oud's a little bit more refined, but like I said, they scratch the same itch. So if you are on a budget, check out One Man Show Oud Edition. That's my off-brand recommendation for this Dior Family Portrait. Okay, next we're gonna get away from the privés. We're gonna get to everyone's favorite fragrance, my only blue fragrance in my collection. It's not Sauvage EDT, it's not Sauvage Eau de Parfum, and it's not Sauvage Elixir, it's Sauvage Parfum. And there's one reason, and one reason only, that I like this fragrance. And that is the fact that there is a olibanum note that Demachy added to the base. And I think that olibanum, there's also LME at the top. And he used LME later on in a fragrance to reformulate. I'll talk about that in a bit. And I think he does a pretty good job of it. This is a 2020 bottle, I believe. Yeah, 0K01. But this is the only, Rich Mitch is famous for saying you only need one blue fragrance. And I don't have Bleu de Chanel. I don't own Roja's Elysium. So this is my blue fragrance. And I actually, everyone gives it shit. They shit all over it. And it is a fragrance that, is mass appealing or whatever. But that olibanum note in the parfum, I think, takes it in a direction that's palatable to a frag head. So anyways, take that for what, that's probably an unpopular opinion in the fragrance community. Everyone, dumps all over the EDT, and for good reason. But the parfum is nice. Okay. Next is a discontinued fragrance that came out in 1997. It's a freshie. It's my favorite fig-based fragrance. And it's Dior Dune. And as you can see, this is the older formulation, back when they actually used the full Christian Dior name, not just Dior. They went to Dior. So if you ever find a bottle and it says Christian Dior on it, it's an older formulation. The batch code on this one is 3MO1. I'm guessing this is a 2003 bottle. And look at the old school. Look at the old school sprayer on that. This came from Le Parfumé and up in Canada. And this basically has fig leaf. It has a note of cassis, which is a little bit pissy. It used to be used more in men's fragrances back when, that was a popular thing to do. I think Une Fleur de Cassis from Frederic Malle has a great cassis note. But it's got fig wood bark, rose, sandalwood in the base, cedar, tonka, vanilla. I wear this in the heat. This is a summer fragrance to me. It's not exciting. None of the summer freshies are, but being discontinued, hard to find. The prices on these are getting outrageous. This is actually a tester. As you can see, it says demonstration right here. So anyways, that's Dune. Next is another freshie, and it's a fragrance called Higher. And this is also discontinued. This is a pear-based fragrance, which you don't see it's basically pear and cypress to me. Pear, cypress, and a bunch of musk in the base. That's pretty much it. And it's another, wear it in the summer fragrance. This one came out in 2001, so a couple years after Dune. It was done by Olivier Pechot. And it got a flanker, actually. There's a flanker that is called Dior Higher Energy, but this is like, long sent to the dustbin of history. No one talks about this on the fragrance channels. This is probably still, even though it's a Dior, I mean, Dior used to put out quality stuff, especially 20 years ago. This bottle, I don't know what the batch code is. It's, I can't see it. It's 1K01. It's probably a 2011 bottle is my guess. It's probably not a 2001 from the original release, but maybe it is. I mean, that's how the original bottles used to come. They then changed it, I think, to where there was a cap on it. And so this is a built-in spray, or maybe this is from 2001. But if you're looking for a freshie and you're tired of the usual, stuff that the designers are pumping out nowadays, you can still find this out and about in the wild for pretty cheap. I mean, I think I paid $50 for this 50 ml. So it's not going to break the bank, and you're not going to smell like everyone else, but it's not exciting either. It's a good fragrance though for the heat, but it doesn't move me. Dior Higher. Next, we're going to move on to one of the greatest perfumers in history, Edmund Rudnitska. You heard me talk about Edmund Rudnitska when I talked about Roja's Parfum de la Nuit number 3 yesterday, which is actually my scent of the day. If you like cumin and you like Eau de Hermes, which is, in my opinion, Edmund Rudnitska's greatest creation of all time. I know that's a big statement, but there it is. PDLM number 3 from Roja is a masterpiece. This is a fantastic use of cumin. It's not as good as Eau de Hermes, but it's right there. What is as good as Eau de Hermes when it comes to cumin? But anyways, back to Edmund Rudnitska. This is one of the greatest chiffre floral fragrances of all time, according to many perfumers. And it was created in 1972. And it's called Diorella. This is a vintage. This is what's known as the houndstooth bottle. As you can see, the outside edges look like hound's teeth. And look at the bottom. The bottom sticker is hilarious. Contents under pressure. I never know how to do this. Keep from heat. Those old school. Keep from heat or flame. Those old school stickers are great. But this is a fragrance that Luca Turin actually said smells like a fish market at some, or maybe it was Tina Sanchez wrote that it's a chiffre that smells like a fish market sometimes. I don't get that, obviously. It does have green notes. It has melon, is I think what throws some people off. But then it has honeysuckle, Moroccan jasmine, peach. This is a woman's targeted fragrance, by the way. But then it has that oak moss, vetiver, patchouli. Those are masculine notes. Oak moss, vetiver, patchouli. That's the base of many modern masculine fragrances. So, God bless the women of the 1970s that they could wear stuff like this. I wear this. I love this. This is a great chiffre, and also very cheap. I think I picked this up for $30. Now it was maybe a third full, but who cares? I mean, I've gotten a chance to wear it and enjoy it and study Edmund Rudnitska's work. So there you go. Diorella. Okay, another Edmund Rudnitska, one I don't like. I bought it because it's an Edmund Rudnitska, and it's a fragrance called Eau Sauvage. Many perfumers think this is the greatest. Many perfumers actually wear this because they don't like wearing fragrance that interferes with their work, when they're working on another perfume. But this is basically citruses at the top, with a note of rosemary, and then in the mid you've got that old school carnation, coriander, patchouli, jasmine, orris, sandalwood, rose. I don't get almost any of those notes. It smells like hedione, which is a note that is supposed to be proven to attract women. Proven. I think Steve McQueen wore this. And he claims that that's why he was such a playboy in the 60s, 70s. This came out in 1966, I believe. This style of fragrance, I don't like. YSL Pour Homme. There's a couple others. Chanel's Pour Monsieur EDT. I struggle with this type of fragrance. I just don't. It's not my thing. I can appreciate it for what it is, but this to me is old school. It's a little bit old manish. You know, Hermes Equipage kind of suffers from the same, you know, the same fate, if you will. But in the summer, if you don't want to be offensive and you want to stand out, you know, it is nice, but it's not. I just don't enjoy it. It's not my thing. I will tell you, I like the flanker a lot better that Demachy did in 2010, I believe, 2012, and it's Eau Sauvage Parfum. Look at the juice color. Look at the juice color on this. It's absolutely gorgeous. And if you know fragrance, you know that this black label means that this is the 2012 version. They reformulated this in 2017. This became silver right here, I believe. And the biggest difference is this has a note of myrrh, big myrrh note in this one. And the reformulated version was substituted for Elemi. So remember I was telling you there's Elemi in Sauvage Parfum. And he's again used Elemi in the reformulation. This is the original bottle, and this is a 200 ml bottle. Look at the size of this. I mean, it's like as big as my head. This is a 2016 batch, 6W01. So I did pay some money to have this in my collection, but I'm glad I did. This is a very classy fragrance. I mean, you know, if I needed to be suited and booted and you don't want to wear something that's outlandish and you want to wear something that's professional, you know, this is a professional man's fragrance. They took the original DNA, they amplified it, you know, that myrrh note with lavender. They kept the hedione, apparently, you know, in vetiver. There's a note of citron in the top, which is an interesting fruit that you will find in very few fragrances. Amouage's Imitation Man is one that has that citron note in the top. But this is, I think this is one of Demachy's best works, along with Leather Oud. Okay, next. Next is another discontinued version, not a discontinued fragrance, but a discontinued version, and it's another women's fragrance. It's Poison, and this is the Esprit de Parfum. And basically, Esprit de Parfum is a word that Dior kind of created for their extrait. As you can see, it doesn't say Dior, it says Christian Dior. And this is courtesy of Anouge from Enchanté Perfumes. This was the only one that he had. So happy to have it, because this is probably my favorite tuberose, along with Joy. Joy Parfum. If you can find a vintage when they only had three ingredients listed, Joy Parfum and this version, the Poison Esprit de Parfum, are some of the most beautiful tuberose centered fragrances ever. But this has so much more going on for it. It has plum, forest fruits. It has that animalic honey that I love so much, incense, cloves. This and Opium for Women from 1977, the original, are two of my favorite women's fragrances to wear. There's a couple others. I'll do a list of women's fragrances one day that I wear. But Poison is Poison's a love-hate for some people, because it is a big perfume. You walk in wearing this and you drown out whatever anything else anyone else is wearing. You're drowning them out. Okay, next is one of the greatest masculines of all time, and again, I don't say that lightly, but I say it here. And I have two versions. I have a modern formulation, I have a vintage, and that is Fahrenheit. The original Fahrenheit, with one of the coolest bottles ever, that fade, you know, to black, basically. The sunset, the oil burning, you know, whatever you want it to be. This can be that for you. This is a big 200 ml. This is a 2014 batch. And I think by now, Demachy reformulated it where that gasoline smell is back in the beginning. This is a good reformulation. There's no doubt about it. You know, a lot of people give Demachy a hard time for what he did. You know, this is a good reformulation. He was good at reformulating perfume. He wasn't good at creating new perfume that, you know, he had to create on his own, come up with from the drawing board, but he was good at taking someone else's work and reformulating it. Speaking of opium, this is Jean-Louis Soisac, which I think created opium, and Michel Almerac were the two perfumers that created Fahrenheit. And it's just that violet leaf leather. You know, it's a big violet leaf. That's where that ozonic gasoline note comes from. I've heard people say, if you can imagine, you know, cutting into a cucumber, that, you know, watery ozonic feel is what a violet leaf. This is not violet flower. Violet leaf is what they use for that. There's lavender. There's chamomile, hawthorn, bergamot, lemon in the top, you know, carnation. There's all that stuff in here, but really it's violet leaf and it's leather. And I'll show you the vintage that I had. This is one of the only other bottles in my collection I didn't pay for. This was a gift from my father. This is a 1996 bottle. Look at that batch code, 6Y044. He said, "Hey, son, I've had this in my drawer for 20 years. Do you want it?" I was going to throw it away. I said, "Hell yes, I want it." Take a look at the cap. So this is how the 80s, 90s, and 2000s cap used to look like. So you can kind of see the difference there. If you can find a bottle with this cap, you know, forget about the batch code. And oh, as you can see, Christian Dior down there, not Dior. So there's the rebranding. So if you can find a Christian Dior, if you can find, you know, this cap, these are good. You know, the leather note was basically turned down some point along the way. Then Demachy amped it back up, but or I said the leather note, the gasoline note in the opening, which I love. You know, gasoline note. People don't understand why. How could somebody like the smell of gasoline? You know, I'm reminded of like my grandmother's garage for her riding lawnmower, you know, when I was a kid, smelling like gasoline. You know, there's so many memories attached to gasoline. Your dad letting you fill up the car for the first time and you spill it on your hands, or this is a 10 out of 10. I mean, if I don't do ratings yet, but if I did, this is a 10 out of 10 fragrance. Hands down, one of the greatest masculines of all time, full stop, period. Fahrenheit, so glad to have a vintage. And it is more amped up compared to the newer formula. But again, this is a good reformulation. So I'm glad to have 200 mLs. I'll never run out of Fahrenheit. Plus, if you like Fahrenheit, check out my Amouage video. There's a fragrance called Portrayal Man that Christopher Chong did right before he left Amouage, and he really amped up the gasoline smell in the beginning there. That has the extra note of cade oil and a couple other things, but I really like wearing that fragrance. I get the same enjoyment out of vintage Fahrenheit as I do Portrayal Man. I don't have the bottle to show you, but you know, you can go back and do some research on that one. Okay, next is a flanker of Fahrenheit. It's Fahrenheit Le Parfum. And this is a more modern take on the Fahrenheit DNA. And you know me, I like my vintages. I like the old style that they used to do. This is very modern. It's very sweet. You know, they added vanilla to this. And I don't think that there's room in Fahrenheit for vanilla, personally. I got a tester bottle, I believe. Yeah, I got a tester. This is a 2020 batch, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 0N01. I got a tester and I got a good deal and all that stuff, but you know, it was like $100 for 100 ml, 75 ml. You can see the smaller bottle, and it's a little different shape than the original. It kind of they've kind of fattened it out and all that stuff. But anyways, long story short is if you think the old stuff is just too masculine for you and you want something more modern, this is a good fragrance, the Le Parfum. It's not exactly to my taste. I think they should have just went a little bit in a different direction and made it a completely different fragrance, personally, instead of going with the flanker, because this doesn't have... I mean, if I smelled this and you didn't tell me this was Fahrenheit, I don't know if I would say that's Fahrenheit. No, it's its own fragrance, but it's sweet. They've added a rum note apparently, which usually I really like boozy accords, but the leather is a little bit more suede here, so it's a more unisex take, let's say. And then probably the best flanker, and also top 3 as far as Demachy's work goes, in my opinion, is Fahrenheit Absolute. This is the dark version. Robes 08 calls this the devil's juice, apparently. And this is amber, it's balsamic. It's got an oud note, which, you know, when Christian Dior uses oud, they're not using oud, they're using whatever oud molecule du jour of the day is, but this is 4 notes on Fragrantica. Incense, myrrh, which there goes, remember I told you, myrrh in this Fahrenheit Absolute. Yeah, here's the notes. So you can kind of see encens, oud, myrrh, and that's pretty much it. There is a violet note apparently in here, which I like that violet note, but this is a great fragrance. It's sad it was discontinued. It's going for silly money nowadays, and I paid silly money for this. I think I paid 180 bucks for this bottle. 100 ml though. Yeah, this is 100 ml. I'm happy to have it. Like I said, it's a tester. It's probably one of my favorite takes on the Fahrenheit DNA. It's darker, is it worth $200 for a bottle of this? That's up to you. But if I had to pick a flanker between the 2 flankers that I have, no doubt it would be Fahrenheit Absolute. Okay, next, onto a fragrance that I wish I had a full bottle of. It's just so expensive. I got a decant from Mou de Cire, my good friend from Base Notes, that I've pumped up. I'm going to do a video on pickups from Mou de Cire because I have bought a lot from him. More is coming, is why I'm waiting. But this is from the Privé collection again. This is Cuir Cannage. It's a 10 ml decant of Cuir Cannage, which is this, you know, woman's handbag leather type accord, but with that Dior iris from the Dior Ohm line, which is coming up. And I love, look at the color of the juice on that atomizer from when I sprayed it. Look at that resinous just glob. Oh, it's beautiful. This is such a great fragrance. One of the few white floral fragrances that I actually really love. There's some big white florals in here, jasmine and orange blossom, which really, you know, those, when you get those 2 white florals together, it's like, it's white floral time. But there's this iris note that rounds everything out and makes it powdery. And there's a birch note. Obviously, it's a leather fragrance. It's called Cuir Cannage, which is the French word. Cuir is a French word for leather, for those of you that don't know. And there's this birch note, which this fragrance is compared to Chanel's Cuir de Russie, which is a bottle that I didn't want to bring out to show you today because I'm going to do a Chanel family portrait, and it's one of my most prized possession bottles because it's a pre-barcode bottle. And that version of Cuir de Russie is just, it makes me melt every time. But this is compared to that, and they did a bang-up job. It's a little bit more modern. It's not as skanky, but that iris note, Dior does iris very good, or they used to, before they reformulated Dior Homme into oblivion. But Cuir Cannage, wish I had a full bottle. Glad to have a 10 ml decant. Next is another leather fragrance. Before we get to the Dior Homme line, this is a leather fragrance called Jules. Supposed to let it melt in your mouth, apparently, according to Chris from Scentland. It's not Jules, it's Jules. And This is a vintage, as you can see. Demachi remade this fragrance in 2016. It comes in like a square bottle. Kind of looks like this, but clear and bigger. And you can find it online on Fragrantica. There's 2 listings. There's the original, and then there's the reformulated version. But this is one of the best leather fragrances of all time. It's not pushy. Very intelligently made. The Artemisia in the top is very green. There's lavender, carnation, rose, sandalwood, cedar. There's this balsam fir note. Oh, God, this is such a good fragrance. The leather in this is never pushy. It is very intelligently done, like I said. It's compared to fragrances like Derby and Aramis, Aramis the original, which are 2 of my favorite fragrances of all time. And by the way, the nose on this is Jean Martel, who did some fragrances you might have heard of. Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, which is my father's signature scent for ever and ever and ever. And I think he did a couple others, but I know Paco Rabanne Pour Homme for sure. So great nose. And then, I mean, even if he only did Paco Rabanne Pour Homme in this, that is a resume right there as far as I'm concerned, because this is a fantastic leather. I wish I had bigger than 50 mLs. You can see how they used to do it in the old days with the batch code on the bottom. Come on, baby. Anyways, Parfum Christian Dior with that smeared batch code. I have boxes for all these, by the way, but they're all up in the attic. I'm not going to bring them all down, just showing you the bottles. You know, if you're into your classic vintage masculines and you don't own a bottle of Jules, this is one to definitely look into. Okay, now on to the Dior Homme line, which is one of my favorite iris-centric lines. First, you've got Dior Homme Intense, the famous, this is a 2013 bottle. Yeah, 3Q04. So Demachi, I think, reformulated this in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. So you can kind of see this is 2013. And this is makeup-y iris. You know, it's got this powdery accord to it. It was described as like a metrosexual fragrance when it originally came out. But I absolutely love this fragrance. I love the, this has a note of ambrette in it. Great use of ambrette. Roger uses ambrette very well as well. But this is lavender, iris, ambrette. There's a pear note when you first spray it for freshness, and there's this vetiver in the base. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance. I love wearing this line. I just melt when I wear any of the Dior Homme line. Saving my favorite for last is why this is not going in order. And one of my favorite bottles of all, too, coming up. Next is Dioram Parfum. This is the discontinued 75 ml version. And this is a 2017 bottle, 7Q02. You'll probably not be able to see it, but if you can, 7Q02 right there. And basically, in a nutshell, all they did was they amped up the leather. They made this more masculine. It's more animalic, actually, which that's why I'm putting this ahead. I like the Parfum a little bit more. Somehow, this became like a bro fragrance. The bros went from Aventus to Dior Homme Parfum. Who knows? This used to be like a hidden gem because it's not released in the United States, but I looked at pricing on some of these bottles recently, especially the vintage 75 ml, and they're through the roof. This came out in 2014. You know, the added note of leather in this is what I really like. It's darker, it's heavier, it's a little bit more animalic. Apparently there's oud in this. Who knows? Okay, next is my favorite Dior fragrance. And I say that fully knowing what I'm saying. There's a lot of great Dior fragrances, but when I personally wear this, this is my favorite. I've only gotten a chance to wear this once or twice since I got the bottle 6 months ago or so, and I just melted. I mean, I knew immediately. If you know Dior's history, you know what's coming. This is Dior Homme. with the silver stem. This is not a Demaché. This is a Olivier Polge. Before he went to Chanel exclusively to be the in-house perfumer, he created this, and this is why I said I think Demaché is great at doing reformulations. He can riff on someone else's work, but he can't really create, I don't think. And Olivier Polge, I mean, this fragrance is the way that I heard Duck explain it once, which is a perfect way to explain it, is imagine you're painting and you have a giant paintbrush with fat strokes. That's what the reformulation smells like. Imagine you're painting and you have a very fine paintbrush and you can really get all the little details and nuanced and intricacies. That's what this smells like when you wear it. You know, it really smells like a perfumer who took their time and just created this painting that, you know, has all these intricate details that, you know, you really have to stare at and look at and study to understand. And that's what this is what designer perfume used to be. And I'm going to cherish every single drop of this. I've smelled the new stuff. It sucks, in my opinion, especially 2020 where they took out the iris. The iris is, oh God, I love this fragrance. And it's not too heavy, so I could probably get away with wearing it when it's a little bit warmer, but there's this note of cacao. This came out very close to the same time L'Instant de Guerlain came out with that cacao note, and it's here as well, but there's lavender, sage, bergamot in the top, iris, cacao, amber, cardamom in the mid, leather, Tahitian, vetiver, patchouli in the base. And you can find this on Fragrantica. You have to look for the 2005 version with the silver stem, I'm sorry. This is one of my prized possessions when it comes to Dior. And oh, by the way, this is a 2005 bottle. This is a 5G02 batch code. So this is a 2005 bottle. This is the original release, and I am over the moon to have this fragrance. So I hope you've enjoyed watching my Dior collection. I really enjoyed sharing. Again, comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you want me to focus on any of these for individual reviews. And I'll see you at the next video, guys. Cheers.